Hello, we're back again. Welcome along to another episode of this Dorking Wanderers story with me, Daniel. It's season 9, episode 2, and today at long last we do start the League 1 season against Tranmere, our 4th campaign at this level as we hope to get to the playoffs this season. Otherwise we're going to be fighting for our job, so that's the minimum expectation from the board. We met all of our signings in the last episode, which was 4 days ago now, so all of the signings we made that we hope will arm us with the quality to reach the playoffs this season, so go back and check that one out if you did miss it. The link to it's in the eye above, so a massive thank you for helping catch up with that. A really big thank you over the last week for your support on the channel. The numbers have been fantastic despite there not being videos the last couple of days. Again, apologies for that. I've been keeping you up to date on the community tab, so I would suggest to follow that if you're not seeing the videos you expect. I'll have updates on there relating to both my work situation in the NHS and my self-isolation status, just so you know whether to expect videos or not for a couple of days. But as it stands, we're back today. I've got a bit of the voice back. We're bored massively here despite the fact we're doing a bit of work at home. The self-isolation really is a bit boring. But otherwise, we're into a new season, so let's get cracking. A massive thank you to everyone who's followed along so far. If you haven't already, please do put a thumbs up on the video. We're looking forward to a new season and hopefully we can challenge for the playoffs. As we mentioned in the last episode, we've still probably got a few more signings to come in just yet, so I wouldn't get too excited thinking our work's done. I'm sure we'll get strengthened a little bit more, yeah. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for daily FM20 content where possible. Hopefully all the time usually, but there may be the odd day where that's not possible in the current climate. But either way, we're getting into our first game of the season, a home to a Tranmere side which we really should be beating in all honesty, but a side that we've of course got great affinity with our football podcast. For example, if you click on the eye above to see the matchday vlogs from our football podcast, there's already 2 videos from there on that one, including a magical FA Cup tie. We've had a great time with them, so we're not going to miss too much on Tranmere. We're just going to wish them to lose today, and then hopefully they'll have a good season after that. But either way, we're going to talk about our new signings. We're going to see which ones of them make the team today, and we're going to get into our first game of the season. If we've got time, we might even play the Plymouth game too. But otherwise, just to give a quick recap, the dynamics are looking okay after a few summer signings. The voice is struggling to hold off, so that might not make it through the episode, but everything looking pretty good there. We've still got leaders in the dressing room, a screen I'm often asked to show and forget to. So Mole Smith and the captain Mitchell all at the top there, Walker McKinnon and John just below. So we've still got a few linchpins in that squad, and some of the signings this summer, so the likes of Parsons in particular, good to see him already in influential players. So 1 or 2 of them already got a bit of a standing in this squad, and that's going to help us as we move through the season. As we mentioned last time out, we've got a couple of really exciting loan players that have come in, and I'm hoping they'll be able to push us towards success. I'm not quite sure if that will be the case. We'll find out obviously as the season goes on, but for now it's a really important stage for us. So let's go and get into the first game, meet the new improved tactic we're going to be playing. I showed you it in the last episode, but I didn't really talk you through it, so we'll try and do that before we get into the game today, and then hopefully even if we don't get the second game in, we might have 1 or 2 signings before that game comes around. So in we go then. Let's get into this first day of the season, a home game against Tranmere. Let's see where they're expected to finish in the league. We're obviously expected to finish just outside the playoffs. Oh, it's up to 4th now. So what signings have changed that? In the last episode it was 8th. Who have we signed most recently? Must be Grant Parsons. It's the only one I can think that's changed that, because before we were down in about 8th here. But Tranmere, they're expected to finish bottom, having got promoted last year. Did they come up via the playoffs then? They did. 5th place they finished. And look at a key player, Dimitri Sia, who's playing his first game since being released from us. There are a lot of stories coming into this. Although he's not playing, look, he's got a twisted ankle, out for 2 to 3 weeks. That's a shame. That would have been a bit of an interesting one. He's earning £4 a week there. That's more than any of our players. Calvin Ramsey was earning that, but he got sold on, of course. So otherwise, I can see why he left, because he was only earning about 2.5 here. We were trying to reduce that in an extended deal, so I can understand completely his reasons for going, and hopefully he'll find Tranmere to safety. But for us, a game we really should be winning, despite it being the first game of the season. We're evens favourites. We've obviously got a trialist ineligible. Tranmere missing a few players, including a key man Sia through injury. And we've got nearly 3,500 through the gate at Crawley. As we try and work desperately, I'm trying to work to see what to do with our finances. We've finally got good money in the bank for the first time in ages. Probably the first time in this series, in truth. So I'm trying to work out, do we go for facilities? Maybe our own stadium, but would it be big enough at this stage? But financially, we'd gain so much from that. that. But of course we'd lose a lot in the meantime as well, and I don't think 3 million's even going to put a dent in getting a stadium. But either way, back to the game. Let's see what our lineup is. Haven't picked it just yet in full because we're missing a right winger in particular, so Jackson would probably come in. But either way, we're going to go and pick our 11, then we'll talk you through our lineup as well. So we'll be back in a second to do all of that and hopefully get our win on the first day of the season. So here we go, we've got the 11 and 18 picked, and we're going to try and go for some sort of a hybrid system here. And the reason is we've gone for a fluid counter-attacking tactical style, but we've tried to use that to control a football match. No idea if it'll work, it'll probably backfire, but most of the other things I've tried have seemed to make us a bit profligate in front of goal. We've not really been as clinical as we should be, maybe not created as many clear-cut chances. With the likes of Webb and Holcroft going forward, I've got to make sure that happens today. So we're going for a positive mentality, 4-2-3-1, so last year we obviously had a flat midfield 3, this time Holcroft going a bit further forward. He's an advanced playmaker up in support of Webb, hopefully getting a bit more in terms of that. On the left hand side we've gone a bit asymmetric, so an attacking fullback in Thomas, Smith dropping in as the deep line playmaker in the left of the centre 2 midfielders, and then on the right back area Moles will be the box to box midfielder, right back will be on the defensive duty, just so he's a bit more deeper than he would be normally, which hopefully negates for Moles going forward more. But as you can see, our tactic seems to cover the pitch pretty well. Everything's green of some sort there. There's no real red spots bar behind the fullback Thomas, but I'm sure Smith will cover for a great deal of that. So our 11 for today does feature some new signings. Grant Parsons a new signing. Who else is new? Mason Saxon's never played for the club, although he's not a new signing. Jackson's obviously new, Holcroft and Webb as well. So 5 at the starting 11 actually. On the bench we've got Thompson as well, McLaughlin, Williams the other lone player, so 3 more potentially on the bench. So it could be a very big turnover today. Something we don't normally have at the start of the season. We try and gradually bed them in, but they're so much better, these lads. I've just got to take the option where possible. But either way, we've got Jonathan Mitchell in goal, Saxon and Thomas the fullbacks, with Jack Walker joined by the new signing Parsons, Moles and Smith in central midfield, Holcroft in behind Webb up front, the 2 Leeds loanees. No real subs in those positions as we haven't yet got the squad depth, but otherwise it's a very good team in 18. So let's get into the game and see if we can win our first game of the League One season. Right, we've handed some more squad numbers out for debutants, as I've just noticed Holcroft's got a cracking moustache there in the number 10 role. A little bit of a soul patch for Grant Parsons, there's some very strange facial hair options going on here, but otherwise 4-4-2 for Tranmere. Hopefully we can overrun them in midfield and control the game, but it hasn't always worked as well as it should do, so we're just going to encourage the lads get into the first half. Well, I think it would be fair to say that hasn't quite gone to plan. It's half time, the stats have been pretty much dead even, despite us trying to control possession, work the ball into the box from wide areas. We've not had any shots on target bar the one. Tranmere have had just as much, and we've not had a highlight either. I mean, what a pathetic game this is. And this is against the side expected to finish bottom of the league. We're really going to struggle this year if that's the case. I was so confident with this tactic. It looked like it was going to work well. In fact, we're going to go for a little bit shorter passing now. Focus play down the wide areas, I guess. But then do we want to focus on the wide areas? We've got an extra man in the middle. So let's focus play through the middle, should we? I just don't know which option's the best. The match ratings are atrocious across the board. Distribute to the playmaker. I don't know what else we can do. Maybe we can get a bit higher up the pitch. We're quite quick in that sense. Try and get a bit further up, get more chances, win it back higher up. Let's just see if that works in the second half. Well, an hour gone. This isn't working. I'm going to go attacking. We've got to find somewhere to get subs on. James Williams is going to come on for the right winger Jackson. I don't know what role he prefers out there. Inside forward on attack, support. I think that'll do enough for now. Holcroft's apprehensive. He's been nervous all game, so I'm going to bring on young Peter McLaughlin, you know. I think he might be the man. Advanced playmaker on attack. Let him go and cause havoc out there. And then at fullback, is there anything we want to change? I don't know anyone else that can make a difference. Maybe Moles to come off shortly, but I'll leave it 5 more. Let's get back into it and see if we can at least get one highlight in this match. Here we go. It's Mason Saxon on the right with a throw. Into McLaughlin, the sub, in towards Everett. Headed away as far as Moles on the edge of the box. His shot's blocked. He was never getting one away from that angle. Smith out to McLaughlin again. Lovely ball for Williams. He's in and scores. Peter McLaughlin off the bench within 2 minutes with a bit of magic. Sets up the ball with a brilliant through pass. Good run by Williams, and his finishing stat didn't matter either. The inside forward getting the first goal of the season, and we're back on track here with Dorking Wanderers. One highlight, one goal, it may be all we need. We'll take 1-0 in every match here, but as Parsons get the ball at the back again now, let's try and put a bit of gloss on it. Down to Williams, he's made some impact off the bench, cutting inside, delivers to Everett, volleys and is tipped onto the post, hit behind for a corner. It's panic stations for Tranmere, and since the goal we've come out of our shell completely. You've got to praise the manager for the subs, haven't you? I don't want to be too arrogant, but what a change they've made. As the ball's headed away from the corner to McLaughlin, the voice is just starting to creak ever so slightly. Headed away as far as Otte. He tries to get it down the line to Scott, but it's intercepted by Tranmere, and the highlight ends with 15 minutes left, and we'll go and make a sub to try and see out the rest of this match. So off goes Moles, he's struggling for fitness. Xavier Simons will come on for him. Central midfielder on defence, just give us a bit more solidity in the middle. Pick the ball up deeper, try and dominate the passing in the middle of the pitch. We tend to go, it's still 1-0 here. We're dominating nicely. I'm just going to drop back to positive. But Tranmere are picking up yellow cards galore, and it looks like we're going to see out the game quite comfortably. We're moving into stoppage time though, as Jonathan Mitchell has it. Why go wide? I've said distribute to playmaker, and you've done that. They're going to score here. Otte's passed it in. He then didn't even get back in the middle of his goal. What's he doing, man? Didn't even go back to the middle. Just stood where he took the goal kick on the edge of the 6-yard box. He didn't even try and save the shot. He reminded me of that United Bartes against Di Canio, except there was no offside in question at all, and that is going to cost us the game against the bottom predicted side in this league, and the playoff hopes are a mile away. We're never going to keep our job this year. It could be the last season of this One Club Challenge, so let's make the most of it while we're here. But can James Williams save today? Beats one, puts him on his backside, beats a second and a third. Williams in and is saved. Brilliant solo work. He's been absolutely marvellous off the bench, but a little bit greedy at the end there. Now the two subs have tried to save the day for us, and we're going to have to go back to the drawing board here, as we managed to fray away the best game of the season. Long ball forward towards Everett. The 4 minutes are up though. It's in towards Webb. Can he nick it? Webb in and shoots and is saved. It's poor. He's got a 16 rating for finishing. Usually so composed, likes to play shots. Didn't do it there though, and it's cost us the points. A 1-1 draw at home to the side predicted to finish bottom. 1-1 against Tranmere, just not good enough. We're never going to get in the top 6 here. McLaughlin picks the ball up out to Williams. We're still playing for some reason. Simons though, the final whistle goes. It's a 1-1 draw, and it is all Jonathan Mitchell's fault, not following instructions, and then didn't even attempt to save the shot to allow a 90th minute equaliser to cost us the game. I've just noticed my face has got a bit darker in the corner as well, so apologies if that's the case and I've disappeared during the game, but we are devastated with that. I'm so frustrated at the manner we lost it. One, that we didn't get a highlight in the first half. Why were we not more creative? The two subs have made a great stake for starting, to be honest. Peter McLaughlin off the bench, he was wonderful. Williams as an inside forward, I've not been able to make that role work in any other series, but Williams seems to be the man there. But Remy Otte, the man who came in only because Sia's unavailable, he scored the 90th minute equaliser. And we're not going to sympathise with the lads, I'm sorry. Aggressive, there is no excuse. Moles has lost confidence, I'm not sure why. The lads really need to buck their ideas up here. So there we go, first game of the season. A lot of our rivals have got the win, so we've already dropped 2 points on many of them. But let's have a look at the inbox, what was said about the game. Williams scores on debut, loads of players making their first appearance, of course. It's the only hope we've got that they will gel together eventually. But the dynamic says the team cohesion's good, so I'm not sure what's going to change in that regard. I just want to have a look at the social groups quickly. They're a little bit all over the place, to be honest. But interestingly, it's Moles and Mitchell who are outside it. And even Thomas, they've all been here at least a year. So I've no idea why they're not together. Most of the new signings seem to have formed their own little group. Maybe they haven't bonded into the core group yet. Is that possibly causing this? But to be honest, it looked a disjointed performance. But either way, an interesting start to the season. We're definitely going to have to ponder over that one. Not quite gone to plan. I'm not quite sure why it hasn't. But of course, as my face has suddenly come back to light, we are slamming the team because it was a terrible performance. And we've got a lot of work to do to get a playoff place this year. So it could well be the last season of this series, as we will get sacked if we don't get in the top 6. I'm not sure the Dorking board will put up with it, to be honest. It's 4 seasons and we're starting to stagnate at this level. But alas, we must continue, so we're going to go ahead to Wednesday. We're not going to play the game, but we are going to see if there's any transfer news before then. There's a few pending deals, so maybe some of them will go through. We might have a little bit more help and a positive note to finish the episode on. So first signing between the games, and it's Rolando Aarons, a former Premier League player. You may remember him coming through at Newcastle back in the day, had a few spells in the Football League since as well, and in this series he's been playing for Charlton, a side we've obviously managed in our head coach series, but he's been there for 6 or 7 years now. He's done really well there, Championship and League One, so a good player for us to bring in. At 31, perhaps not his best still, but a fairly mediocre wage, and he'll do a job for us. I'm sure he'll compete with Everett for that first spot. Otherwise, we've sold less season tickets, we've got a Carabao Cup game on TV, no really exciting news at the moment, but Rolando Aarons the first to join the club. Let's see what his rating is in comparison. Probably 2.5, 3 star at best. Let's have a look. It is 2.5 star. So if we go to his report, he's pretty even with Everett. Don't know why Jaskalainen's doing that. Let's get it back to a main man. Nick Haycock, lock, yeah, he's got them all pretty level. So he's going to compete with Everett. I'm sure he'll do a decent job for us. But he can also cover well on the right-hand side as well. And that gives us more options. That inside forward, we saw how well that worked in the last game. So to have an extra option out there is good. And he's only on a 1-year deal as well. So plenty of good signs in that one for us. Probably not the signing that's going to change our season, but certainly a good solid one across the board. And a bit more much needed experience in the squad. A decent personality, some good player traits. Let's see if he can make a difference for us. Signing number 2, it's Russell Wharton who joins us this time, a right winger. He's going forward, he's a decent player, probably slightly better than Jackson. Not the good determination, we see that with so many of the youngsters in this game, but otherwise physically and technically very good, and he's got lots of room for improvement too. We're only contributing £1,000 a week. We've had success with loanees from Norwich before, and I think he's going to improve on the job and hopefully guide us towards those playoffs. So a good sign in him, the fans a little bit happier, potential to be a Premier League winger in the future. So that's number 2 between the 2 games. We turned down one for Rennox. His scout reports didn't match what we thought of him when we put the bid in, so there's no chance of us getting him on board. And there's a couple of others further down there, so Slater and Todd the other 2. Again, their scout reports were rubbish. We were trying to accelerate deals and they're not good enough to sign for the club, so we're not just going to sign them for the sake of it. But let's move on. We've got 2 more days till the next game. Can we get another signing or 2 in? I don't think there's going to be any stars before the end of the episode, but hopefully 1 or 2 more to bolster the squad. Well, we've also got our leasing.com trophy draw, so let's see which group we go in for that one. West Ham under 23, Stevenage and Southend. So a very local South one, of course. Stevenage close to home, so that won't be far for me. But of course, there's a couple of big games there. We're not going to do a press conference for backup players. There's no need for any of that for now. So let's just skip ahead a bit further, see if we can get any more signings across the line. Right, we're on to match day now, and the first bit of news, Harvey Holcroft's picked up a knock, so Peter McLaughlin has certainly earned a start today, but Thomas Cotton's the next man coming in. There's 2 others that we've had to cancel because their scout reports just weren't good enough, but Cotton is decent enough. Nothing special, not going to set the world alight, just coming in as a fringe player, and he's going to be the backup to this man Mason Saxon. A right back, a young player, little bit of room for improvement, 2-star ability, 3-star potential, only earning about £1,000 a week, and he's here on a 1-year deal again, so if he doesn't improve, we just don't have to worry. But he's played for Rotherham in this league last season, played about half of their games at this level, so a good player to have as a backup here. Hard worker, decent determination, likes to get forward as well. There's plenty of good signs there, so hopefully he can play in the leasing.com trophy and enable deputy to Saxon if needed. But with that, we have reached the Plymouth match, so we will end the episode there. Russell Wharton, the new signing, failing a fitness test, and Holcroft obviously got a knock as well. If we have a look at the schedule, we'll probably be back in about a month's time, maybe for the end of the transfer window and a big game just before or after, so possibly the Bolton one or maybe the Lincoln one the week after. We'll see which one of those stands out the most. I might even wait till Sunderland on the 11th, try and play a few more games off camera, particularly with it being harder in the weekdays now. We've got to try and get through as much as possible at the weekend. That'll mean I can get content out most of the week and hopefully keep a few of you entertained while there's no football on. Fingers crossed that'll give my voice a chance to recover a bit as well. As you can see, it's really struggling towards the end here, but a massive thank you to everyone who has watched the episode and stuck along with it as always. If you did enjoy it, please put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know what you thought of that Tranmere performance. A bit of a bizarre one. The tactic was good. Some of the substitutes were fantastic, but it just looked a little disjointed. We didn't have any highlights in the first half, and maybe that's something we've got to look at going forward. Of course, let me know as well what you thought of the signings down in the comments, although most of the new ones are backup players for now. I just can't find that bit of gold dust we need in wide areas. The right and left wing probably our 2 weakest positions now, so that's a bit of an area of concern for the season, and I just can't really see how we're going to be a top 6 side, and that means I'm going to have to think about, are we getting sacked this year? It's something we don't want to think about, but it's possibly the case. This story could not make it successfully. I never promised we were going to make it to the top. We try, and it looked like it worked the first time with Torquay, but here it is a much more difficult challenge, and of course there was no promise we were ever going to make it all the way. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for daily FM20 content from my 2 long-term stories. The odd little breaks during the last couple of weeks and the bits of self-isolation have helped with a couple of other things, possibly a couple of new mini-series coming to the channel. I'm working on something with the lads from the podcast, doing a Football Manager type series or competition with them. The 3 of us doing a knockout round robin, maybe even a group stage format, something like that. We'll probably do a fantasy draft to make that happen. So that's something you can expect over the coming weeks. We'll have the first leg on this channel, the second leg then on the podcast one, just to try and be as fair as possible. So hopefully that's something you'll enjoy as we go along. A bit more natural between the lads, just having a bit of a laugh. If you've seen our podcast podcast, you know what we're about. You can see the matchday vlogs in the eye above, get used to the other lads in advance. I've also got one mate who I play a bit of FIFA online with, so we'll try and do something around that as well, just to try and keep people entertained while there's no real football. So of course most of us have now got our Saturdays back. Of course I'll be working some of them now, so that will make things a bit trickier, but otherwise I'll try and get as much out as possible. So a massive thank you for your continued support, I really do appreciate it, and subscribe to the channel for daily content, and hopefully I'll see you for the next one tomorrow.